not been live for quite a while, as some of you will have noticed, but it's nearly winter, it's getting dark, it's getting cold, so I've decided I'm going to be back a lot more pretty regularly with some short little snippets of workouts and videos and exercise ideas just to help you with all of your goals, whether that's strength and tone or performance and function and weight loss and shape and energy and all the things that I work on balance. We're going to be doing lots of little videos and exercise sessions for you on that. And the first one I've got today, we're going to be starting with your bum muscles. Massively important. Fancy name, gluteus maximus. That's the big peachy ones back here. And we're going to be looking at a couple of simple exercises you can do if they're not quite working properly. Why would we work them? Well, we work them for lots of reasons. Firstly, basically, they're involved in everything you do. So sitting down and standing up, stepping up and down stairs, really important for that. If you're sporty or not, they're involved in your walking movements, jogging, running, jumping, any sport stuff you do, your bum muscles are really important. And if they're weak, what can happen is they can lengthen a bit, and the muscles at the front here, the hip flexor, might get tight, and you might end up with that posture that I often call duck bum. Its fancy name is hyperlordosis, but it's that one where the bum sticks out of it and we've got a bigger arch in the low back here. Quite common in desk work or for you cyclists out there as well, because you spend a lot of time sat down in your sport. A little bit more common in ladies than men because there's a naturally bigger curve anyway, just the shape of the pelvis, but it doesn't mean that men can't be affected by the problem. In fact, a lot of them are from desk jobs and things like that and driving jobs. So massively important for posture. Also really important because they support the low back area. If these are weak, then you get a lot more stress on the low back and it can lead to low back problems and issues. And also because we just want them to look nice, toned, shapely. It's a big area that a lot of people focus on. First thing to say before we get into the exercises, if you've got aches and pains, always go and get it checked out by a physiotherapist. Talk to a medical professional first before you dive into any exercise stuff, just so they can diagnose what's going on, find out what's wrong, and then you can work on the best exercises for you. I've got 4 exercises written down over here that I'm going to work you through one by one. I'm just going to show you very brief demos. And like I said, we're going to start with some really simple exercises where I start with a lot of my clients to get the bum muscles functioning properly. What often happens when they become weak is that other muscles, in a sort of chivalrous kind of way, they take over. So quite often with the bum muscles, if you're doing things like squats, it can be the quads that say, no, don't worry about it, I'll do this, and the bum muscles get even weaker. With things like bridge exercises, you'll often find that the hamstrings, bigger muscles, they can take over too. And if you try and start with those exercises, you just can't get the glutes to function like you should. So we're going to go back to exercises where we can really isolate those glute max muscles and just get them functioning and working properly. And then I'll do some other videos further down the line about more advanced, more challenging exercises you can do for them. And I'm also going to do some other videos for different parts of the bum area. There's some muscles called your gluteus medius and minimus around the sides, and they do some other important movements. So we'll look at those another time. But let's start. I'm going to go through 4 exercises. I'm only going to show you a few reps of each, just so you get the feel for how they work. And then I'm going to talk you through how you can do them at home in terms of sets and repetitions and how often per week. But let's start with that first one. Like I said, if your muscles aren't functioning properly, going into squats and jumps and step-ups and lunges, it just ain't going to work for you because the other muscles are going to take over and you're never going to get that development that you want. So the way that we often look to work it is to strip it back and really target that muscle with a really low level, light intensity exercise. And this is one of my favourites. So you lie yourself face down, pop your hands out for support wherever feels comfortable, and you're going to bend one leg to about 90 degrees, try and keep your toes and your ankle relaxed. And then from there you're going to think about squeezing that gluteus maximus, not with your hand like this, but you're going to think about tensing that muscle, and you're just going to push the heel into the sky, knee a couple of inches off the floor, really engage that glute, drop it back down. I'm going to show you 5 repetitions, so we squeeze, and back down. Up we go, little pause at the top, and down all the time. You're thinking about re-squeezing this muscle. And then I'll go one more, lift and squeeze, nice slow movement, and then down from there. And by stripping it down like that, we can really start to focus on that muscle, getting it switching on basically, and getting it firing like it should. Some of my clients, not huge fans of that. Sometimes it can feel a little bit uncomfortable on the core and in the low back area. So one of the alternatives you could use is literally just stand against the wall, hands out for support. You've really got to keep the core strong here though. Obviously on the floor, your body's nice and flat anyway. But you can do it standing by just simply bending that leg in the same way and squeezing the bum back. But you'll notice that nothing else is moving. So I'm not arching my back, no movement elsewhere. I'm just squeezing from this glute, little kick back and back in, number 4 and back, and you'll see no movement at all, so that core's nice and solid, and then back in from there. So that's a slight alternative if the line one feels less comfortable for you. That's it, that's a really good start. It doesn't really involve huge amounts of core stability work, it just allows us to isolate that glute. If you find that starts to become a bit too easy, and you want to get the core involved as well, because it's important to work both together, you can start to use some of these band things and do some other advanced exercises. I've got a few here, so the green and the yellow ones normally quite light and quite easy, right up to sort of the reds and the blacks, the thicker ones, a bit heavier, a bit harder. So I'm going to show you what's called a donkey kick now, which is a bit of a progression. I'll do it on the left side, otherwise my right's going to get really tired. So from this one, you're going to start in what we call the table. Wrists under the elbows, under the shoulders, knees under the hips, but here you've got to really be solid through your core, so you've got to be strong here to pull that belly button in and just hold that body in that nice natural curve here with the head down in line with the spine. If I lay my dinner on your back, it shouldn't move, so I should be confident to use you as a table, hence the name, and just get that good posture. If you find yourself rocking around all over the place, drop back to the previous level. And we can start this exercise, nice wide hands if you want real stability. We can start it, I'll go left leg like I said, by just lifting that foot, or knee an inch off the floor rather, and just squeezing up. So it's exactly the same movement as before, but we're just having to engage that core to keep that body still now, rather than letting the floor do it for us. So I'm going to go for 5 repetitions. Again, try to keep that ankle and foot as relaxed as possible, and you just squeeze in that bum and pushing up towards the sky to really engage that glute. If it's too easy, that's where the bands come in. So you can just pop them around your feet. You can get these really cheap on Amazon. When I post a link up on the website, I'll share a link to a good set of these that you can get that literally go from this one, which is extra light, up to the harder one, so you've got good progression from there. So if you pop the band on, you add a bit of resistance, you do exactly the same, nice solid core, but we've got a bit of challenge as we squeeze into it. As I said, this is extra light, so it's a good place to start if your bum muscles aren't functioning. If you've been to a physio, maybe you're a runner or a cyclist or you've just got a desk job, there's a very good chance they'll have told you that you've got weak glutes. And these are some really good exercises to start working on to correct that and get them functioning properly. So there's my 5 on there with just a little bit more resistance with the band in there, so not too hard just yet, not, I said, lunges, squats, jumps, things like that. Once I've started doing that with clients, as we progress, then I'll gradually start to load more weight and more intensity once we know and we're confident that they can feel the muscles firing and that they're working like they should. So only once they can confidently say to me, yeah, I can feel that in my bum, and no, I'm not feeling it in my hamstrings on some of those ones that we've just done, would we then move on to these more challenging ones. And the next one, I call the little bridge. It's a variation of a bridge exercise. Many of you have seen me do a bridge before on some of the workouts, but then, again, this is just with a few small tweaks just to really make sure that we target the glutes. So I'm going to show you side on. So you get yourself into that normal bridge position, head on the floor, shoulders back and down and relaxed, feet about hip shoulder width apart, and then from here we're going to really tense the stomach muscles and flatten the spine into the floor so that we've got no curve here at all. What that's just going to allow me to do is really work on engaging my glute muscles. And what I'm now going to do, and the reason it's called a little bridge, is I'm going to squeeze my glutes first before we do any of the movements. So really tense them, and then just gradually peel the spine and the glutes up off the floor, maybe 3 or 4 inches, really squeezing from the bum, and then roll back down. If you feel your back arch or loosen, we're going to roll back down into the ground again, squeeze those glutes, and then from there, lift a small amount just so you can feel all the work here in the glutes, and then back down. Reset every time if you need to. Engage, flatten, squeeze and lift through the bum. And as I said, you should feel all that work in those bum muscles. I'm going to go 2 more, roll into the floor, that's 4, and then back down from there. Squeeze the bum, lift them up. Not a big lift, so we're not going into that high bridge that we normally do, because we're just focusing on all the work down here, and then we relax them down from there. So those are 4 exercises you can start with. As always, you know, you can choose the one that feels right for you. If you do one and it doesn't feel good, make it easier. Keep skipping it back until you get to that right level. In terms of sets and repetitions, this is something you can do 2-3 times a week, maybe even 4 if the muscles recover well enough. And I'd always start with 1 set and just do as many repetitions as you can before you start to feel the technique going, aiming to eventually build up to about 20 repetitions. Once you can do 20, start adding a second set in and really just trying to build that volume until you can do 2 to 3 sets of 20 repetitions on that exercise. When that's comfortable, you might want to move up to a slightly more challenging exercise, but you might take the sets and the repetitions back down again and gradually build the intensity till you can get to that 3 lots of 20. And then once you've got past that, then we'll look at those next videos that I'm going to be sharing with you in the coming weeks. So some slightly harder exercises for glutes, getting the bigger muscles involved now that we know the glutes are firing properly. And I'm also going to be looking at some stuff for glute medius and minimus. Hopefully that's helpful. Any questions you've got, feel free to post them underneath the video, and I'll be sharing this on the Balance website and the newsletter, and it'll be here on Facebook for eternity, as long as Facebook is still running. Thanks guys, have a great evening. Bye.